ఓం సహనా భవతు సహనౌ భునక్తు సహ వీర్యం కరవావహై తేజస్వినావధీతమస్తు మా విద్విషావహై. ఓం శాంతి శాంతి శాంతి. కర్తురాజ్ఞయా ప్రాప్యతే ఫలం కర్మ కిం పరం కర్మ తజ్జడం. కృతిమహో దధౌ పతన కారణం ఫలమ శాశ్వతం గతి నిరోధకం. ఈశ్వరార్పితం నేచ్ఛయా కృతం చిత్తశోధకం ముక్తి సాధకం. కాయవాంగ్మనః కార్యముత్తమం పూజనం జపశ్చింతనం క్రమాత్. జగత ఈషధీ యుక్త సేవనం అష్టమూర్తిభృద్దేవ పూజనం. ఉత్తమస్తవాదుచ్చమందతః చిత్తజం జప ధ్యానముత్తమం. ఆజ్యధారయా శ్రోతసా సమం సరళచింతనం విరలతః పరం. భేదభావనాత్ సోహమిత్యసౌ భావనాభిదా పావనీమతా. భావశూన్య సద్భావసుస్థితిః భావనా బలాద్ భక్తిరుత్తమా. హృత్స్థలే మనః స్వస్థతా క్రియా భక్తి యోగ బోధాశ్చ నిశ్చితం. So, param is not karma phalam. Karma is not the means for param. Param means limitless. The word para, desha, kala, vastu, aparichinnam. Desha, kala, vastu, aparichinnam. Parichinnam means limited. Aparichinnam means not limited. Not limited by place, time, being an object. So, if you take this flower, it is deshataha parichinnam pushpam. The flower is limited by place. It is here, not elsewhere. Time, now it is here, and previously it was not. There was a time when this was not. There will be a time it won't be. Therefore, it is bound by time. Even when it is there, it is not the same. It keeps changing. This is called Kala Paricheda. Therefore, Deshataha Parichinnam, Kalataha Parichinnam. So, both ways it is limited. Time-wise and space-wise. And then again, being a flower, so it is not any other object. It's not the table or chair or fan. It's only a flower. Again, among the flowers also it's only a rose. Among the roses it is a given rose. Understand? And therefore, this is called Vastu Paricheda. So as an object, being an object, there is a limitation. Therefore, being a given object, it is limited. And it is limited by time and limited by place. Now, this is what you get out of karma. A karma phala is going to materialize in that form. Now, param, what is limitless? Not by time, space, etc., that which is limitless, and that is not going to be the result of an action. It is not going to be produced. And it is not going to be produced at a given place, like heaven, etc. And it is not going to be a given object also. And therefore, it is a thing to be known by a means of knowledge, and knowing is not doing. And therefore, these are two different things. They are two different spheres. Doing karma, accomplishing a result is one thing. Knowing what is entirely a different thing. Therefore, it is not something that is knowledge does not produce anything. It brings to light what is. And therefore, so here this param can be accomplished only by knowing, about which he talks later. So karma is not parasya mokshasya sadhanam. So it is not the sadhana, the means for param. This was pointed out. On the other hand, this karma, so that it is that does not produce param is one thing. But on the other hand, it keeps you under the same spell of what we call this life of becoming, samsara. The life of becoming is what is called the samsara. Therefore, kriti mahodadau patana karanam bhavati karma. Why? Palama shashvatam dati nirodhakam. Why? Because phalam ashashvatam sat. So phalam, the result, karma phalam. Ashashvatam, being not eternal. So this karma phala, even if it is a loka, a heaven, etc., being ashashvatam, being bound by time, it's not everlasting. Phalam ashashvatam sate, finite, being finite. It keeps you in the same samsara. So whatever you gain is going to be limited by time and place. And with reference to the gain, when you look at yourself, you are not going to look at yourself as Purnatma. You are going to look at yourself only still the same wanting person. And therefore the becoming person continues to be the becoming person. Tasmat phalam ashashvatam sate, phalam being finite in nature. So kriti mahodadau, mahodadi means ocean. Kriti mahodadau, so the ocean of kriti, kriti means karma. In the ocean of karma. The ocean of karma means what? So, ocean of action and its result. The result also is a body. The physical body at a given place also is the result of karma. And therefore, karma phalam ashashvatam sate. Kriti mahodadau, in the ocean of what we call kriti samsara, where the becoming is the main thing. So you become to become to become to become. This is what we call Janma, Marana, etc. Even in a given life, we did not worry about later what happens. Even in this given life itself, now Sukhi, Dukhi, Sukhi, Dukhi, Iti. This constant flux is always there. Therefore, the Sukhi wants to become Sukhi better, and the Dukhi, of course, wants to become Sukhi. And having become a Sukhi, then again you want to retain the status of being a Sukhi, and therefore there is a continuous struggle. So this struggle is what we call samsara. And therefore, Kriti Mahodadau Patana Karanam. That karma phalam Patana Karanam Bhavati. Kriti Mahodadau Patane Karanam Bhavati. And so in falling into the same samsara alone, Karanam cause. Here he keeps the heaven in view. So in the Shastra, the Karma Kanda, there are a lot of rituals pointed out. So these rituals are meant to give you heaven ityadi results later. And these heaven etc. results, even if you get, then that is the result of your karma, and therefore it is going to be finite. And so as long as the punya phala is there for you, you remain in heaven and you again come back. And therefore patana karanam, patanti, visanti iti. So kshine punye martyalokam visanti, yadyataiha karmachito loka kshiyate, tattata mutra punyachito loka kshiyate. So how here in this world, how you find a person who has invested something, he has done something, how he reaps a result. That result is finite and limited in nature. And so too alone, if a heaven is there for you, that also is going to be, is going to be finite, because it is the result of finite karma. So any result of finite karma is not going to be infinite, and therefore, so Surgam also is heaven, etc. also will be finite. And therefore, when you talk about heaven as finite, and everything else is finite also. People think heaven is moksha. And therefore, so the heaven is also a finite experience. And therefore, so patana karanam, the patana karanam bhavati, from a heavenly status, so you gain patana karanam. It becomes the cause for falling. Which is the cause for falling? Karma. And therefore, this karma is the cause for falling. In as much as falling means, again you have to pick up the same thread and continue. And therefore, the process of becoming that a jiva is subject to continues, and never there is a respite for it. Therefore, if at all there is a respite, it is purely an unmanifest condition, like in sleep there is a respite. And so similar respite one may have, but then again the fellow wakes up from the avyakta to become manifest. Therefore, when the whole kalpante, when the entire cycle so comes to a state of dissolution, then again this fellow is unmanifest and again to become manifest later. And therefore there is no way of escaping this Kriti Mahodadi, this ocean of becoming. And therefore the jiva continues to be struggling to become. Understand? So this is what we call in one word samsara. Kriti Mahodadau Patana Karanam Palama Shashwatam. Therefore, Gati Nirodhakam. Gati he means here. So Gamyate iti Gati here is the end, ultimate end, Gati. So this Gati, the ultimate end called moksha, where you want to relax from being a becoming person. So that Vishranti, that Gati, which we call by the word moksha. So this for Gatehe Nirodhakam Bhavati. It Pradibandhakam Bhavati, it becomes more an obstruction. Understand? Karma is more an obstruction than a help for you. Thus the karma is dismissed as not the means for moksha first. Then having dismissed this, then it looks as though the karma is not useful at all. If it is not useful, then why it is mentioned in the Karma Kanda? The whole Veda talks about karma alone. Then how can you dismiss it once and for all? Then it is pointed out that karma, we don't say karma is useless. Karma produces its result. And if you are a moksharthi, then of course it is not helpful. Understand? Therefore it is not the means for it. And so kritima, within the samsara, you want desirable results, desirable situations, then karma is going to acquire for you all those situations. Nothing else will acquire like karma. And therefore, karma is the one that is going to produce results within the samsara. If you are interested within the samsara, then the Veda tells you to perform all these karmas and you can avoid wrong karma. You can do good karma and thereby you can assure for yourself a better lot. Understand? Better lot means for a length of time. Then again you have to pick up the thread. And it is a continuous process. And the person who is not interested in this, for him, so naturally, knowledge is going to account for his moksha. Karma is not going to help, he said this. But then, this karma can be indirectly a help. How can be help? Well, so if you change your attitude, if it is converted into yoga. So first, you understand how the Shastra goes. Shastra always talks about na karmana, na prajaya, na danena. Like this, it will tell you first. It is not karma that is going to help you. Because there you have to point out the limitation of karma. And then that it is not something that you can opt for moksha. There is no such alternative to knowledge. What is to be gained in terms of knowledge is to be gained. And here it is param. It is a thing that exists. And therefore you don't produce infinite or limitless. And therefore what is alone is still limitless. And that cannot be produced, that need not be produced. It has to be produced in terms of knowledge. You have to know. This is what it is. And first you say this is what it is. By the time you come to really understand, it becomes this is what I am. Because the limitless cannot be separate from you. And therefore you recognize the self alone is the limitless. And thus, so this recognition is what is required here for moksha iti. For the moksharthi, this is the Shastra. Then, the karma, how it is helpful. Now, this knowledge being what it is, it requires, like any other knowledge, a certain preparedness. So, this preparedness we have talked about before. This is what we call adhikaritvam. Adhikari means the person who is ready for it. Adhikaritvam means the status of the person who is ready. The disposition of the person who is ready. So this inner disposition is gained only by a religious life. They have to conceive that. It is by a religious life. So one has to settle account. One is angry. Being born, one is angry. Angry with the world, angry with the parents, angry with everything. So angry with gods also. It is these angry people who become activists also. And so these become very, very big activists, and they think that they are going to save the entire world. And so these are all non-thinking people. So what happens then? They just carried away by their own anger. They have to address their anger first. And therefore then they can do something to the world. First the anger has to go out of us. People are angry just because they are born. And therefore this anger has to be settled. How are you going to deal with this anger? Because you are angry with your parents. And so father was not available, or he was a drunkard, or whatever. So then there is a anger. That child is anger. That doesn't go away at all. And therefore, how are you going to deal with that anger? You have to again rediscover your father. How are you going to discover your father? So only with Ishvara you can discover father. There is no other father available. Because fortunately he is father. Two people you can call father. One is Janakaha. One is your father. And the other is the Ishvara, the Janaka. The second father is only that father. Because the grandfather also can be taken as father, but he has his own problems, And therefore, so a problem-free father you have to have. And the problem-free father is only Ishvara. And therefore, so your own understanding of Ishvara, so discovering him as infallible, because that infallible is Ishvara. The laws are Ishvara. And therefore, so that infallibility is the very nature of Ishvara. And all that you are seeking is infallible. Because as a child you thought your father was infallible. Later you found he was fallible. Then afterwards you lost your trust. Again you have to rediscover that trust and settle all the old accounts with Ishvara. This is what we call bonding this bonding with Ishvara has to take place, and therefore you have to discover the infallible Father with whom you are related as Janya Janaka. So thus he is the Janakaha and I am Janyayati. That level as an individual with this physical body, mind, sense complex. Definitely as a Jiva I am not born. As one who is in this sojourn, I am definitely born. And therefore, with reference to this body, mind, sense complex, Jiva has a birth. And that born Janya is related to Janaka. You celebrate your birthday because of what? And that makes you Janya. And then with reference to this body, mind, sense complex, you are born. And therefore, you are related to father, mother. And then go further. Father, mother, there is Ishvara, who is both father and mother. And therefore, cause. Nimitta upadana karanam. But emotionally, that he is Ishvara as a nimitta karana, as all-knowing, infallible, and that is what is required. And for which alone, he says, you have to surface your ragadvesha, and which really deny a person this knowledge. And that management of ragadvesha is possible only when we are able to bring in Ishvara into our life as karma adhyaksha, as karma pala hetu, karma pala data or karma pala hetu. So in the Gita we have seen all these days we are talking about that. Therefore karma pala hetuhu, karma adhyaksha iti, with reference to the result of action I have a proper attitude, and with reference to action itself, so I recognize Ishvara as karma adhyaksha. In the sense that I am placed in a given situation, there is a thing that is to be done, that karyam is also participation. What is to be done is kind of worship to Ishvara in the sense. What is worship to Ishvara? Relating to Ishvara is worship. That's all worship. When you relate to Ishvara is worship. That relating to Ishvara implies doing what is to be done with the karyam, and therefore the same karma, the agnihotradi karma, the daily rituals, prayers, etc., which can be substituted by other forms of prayer. The Vaidika prayer being a karma, every karma is anyatava kartum shakyam. You must know, an action, that action is something that can be substituted by another type, and therefore prayer being an action, and that action coming from a karta, the doer, and naturally it is subject to what we call substitution. Understand? Therefore, one form of prayer, which is Vaidika prayer. The Veda talks about varieties of prayer, ritual prayer. All these can be substituted by varieties of forms, various other forms, but continues to be prayer. Prayer cannot be substituted by slaughter of animals, etc. And therefore, so prayer can be substituted by another prayer. A Sanskrit prayer can be substituted by Latin prayer. And therefore, so prayer is available for substitution. The form in which you pray, that is cultural, that form can be little different. It can be different. And therefore, so that is karma means kartum shakyam. It is possible for you to do an action, religious also. And it is possible for you not to do. That's why people don't do it also. And so, people don't do it. And so, why? Because it is possible for them not to do. And it is possible for them to do it differently. That is what you have to know. Differently. So, it can be done differently. So, it can be done differently because it is open to choice. But the karma itself that is mentioned in the Shastra, that karma, or anything that can replace that karma, the prayer, etc., prayer and prayerful activities. So all of them can be converted into yoga if what is aimed at is purely moksha. if what is aimed at is not anything but your antakarana shuddhi. So for my own purification, so for the purification means for neutralizing my own raga dvesha and my own tendencies to go by raga and dvesha against dharma and adharma, and to neutralize that also is what is called antakarana shuddhi. And therefore antakarana shuddhi is a very common simple word, and that is also another, so swallowing the whole thing. Antakarana shuddhi ke liye na. Antakarana shuddhi means what? So the antakarana is what is ashuddhi, we have to know. The ragadvesha is not ashuddhi. They think ragadvesha ashuddhi. No. Ragadvesha spell over you is called ashuddhi. Ragadveshas dictate over you. With reference to karma phala, with reference to choice of karma. There is omission and commission because of ragadvesha. Therefore, purely it is ragadvesha management. And this is possible by karma that is performed yoga buddhya with the proper attitude, and therefore he says Ishwararpitam nechaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. The subject is not there. Karma, we have to add karma. Karma in the first verse it was said, Karturajnaya prapyate phalam karma kim param karma tajjadam kritimaho dadau patana karanam phalama shashvatam gati nirodhakam. Karma. Only first line karma was used. So afterwards anuvritti. This is called in Sanskrit anuvritti. Anuvritti means that which comes down. Topic. The topic, the anuvritti in Panini Sutras, you must have heard, I don't know, we have started already. And so their anuvritti is very important. If there is a topic, if the topic anuvritti means that is called Adhikara Sutra, that sutra will come and sit there. Changing its vibhakti, sit there. It will sit there. Because that is the topic. In sutra you cannot repeat the same word. That's why it is sutra, otherwise it becomes sentences. So that will come and sit there. Then there are subheads also. Therefore what was said before, etc., then they all come down. The words come down. Sometimes the whole sutra comes down. So this is what is called anuvritti. Then if you bring those words, then you find there is a sentence. Sutra becomes a sentence. That is why it is important what was said before. You have to remember. And sometimes they remember the number also. Understand? So remember the number too. And therefore, but anyway, you should know the topic and what's going on. Now, therefore, this anuvritti here, karma, the karma, Ishwararpitam karma. Ishwararpitam means what? Ishwarena arpitam karma. By Ishwara, what is dedicated to you. So by Ishwara doesn't dedicate his action to you. You dedicate your action to Ishwara. Therefore, Ishwaraya arpitam karma. Because Ishwarena arpitam also is there in this compound. So it can be Tritiya or it can be Chaturthi, it can be anything. And therefore you have to decide, hey, what is this here? Very simple. Ishwaraya arpitam karma. Karma that is offered to Ishwara. Offered to Ishwara. Therefore, as I told you yesterday, this is to be done by me. There is an awareness that I am placed. There is an awareness of Ishwara. So that awareness of Ishwara is important in Karma Yoga. Therefore, Karma Yoga is kosher only when you have the awareness of Ishwara. Without the awareness of Ishwara, there is no secular, that kind of Karma Yoga we don't have. And therefore, karma Ishwaraya arpitam karma. A karma that is offered for the sake of Ishwara. This for the sake of Ishwara is a very interesting thing. Now suppose, when you are offering a karma for the sake of heaven, I want heaven, therefore you perform this karma. And a prayer. Why? You want Ishvara to help you to reach heaven or Artha or Kama, nothing wrong. Whom else you can ask? And therefore that is fine. But then, there you are using Ishvara's grace. Therefore, Ishvara becomes an accomplice for your end, which has nothing to do with Ishvara, for the end that you are seeking. This is what we call Kamyam Karma. Kamya Karma means what? A karma which you do for an end to be accomplished by you. And this, for this, you are invoking Ishvara also. Not merely you are doing karma, you are a religious person, you accept Ishvara, you become therefore Artharthi or Artaha. So you are interested in gaining this end, a small end here or in the hereafter. Everything is small from the standpoint of infinite. And therefore, for this end, so you are invoking Ishvara's grace. This is called Kamyam Karma. Now suppose you perform a karma for whom, they say, for whom? To please the Lord. So this is another bunkam. So to please the Lord means what? Why should he get pleased by you? Is he displeased with himself that you should go on pampering him and flattering him? So is he not a Purna? You say that he is Purnaha, he is everything. Who are you to please Ishvara? You know, he doesn't require to be pleased by you. In fact, you are not pleasing him. You are tapping Ishvara's grace. By performing karma, you are tapping Ishvara's grace. Generally for the sake of some small end. As a moksharthi, for the sake of Ishvara himself. Why? Because you want Ishvara. You go for the kill. You don't want something from Ishvara. You want Ishvara himself. This is what Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita. Those who chose me would come to me. Those who choose me would come to me. He tells that in so many words. Means what? You choose Ishvara. When you say moksha, you are choosing Ishvara. You go for the absolute. You are not going for anything less. All that is here is Ishvara alone. That is exactly what you want. And therefore Ishvara, for gaining the knowledge of Ishvara. Because there is no other way of getting Ishvara. And you are not going to confront him somewhere because he includes you also. And therefore the observer observed, the seer seen, knower known. If both of them are Ishvara, there is no other way of coming across Ishvara except Ishvara darshanam is only in the form of seeing myself, subject and object being Ishvara. That is called Ishvara darshanam. Baki sab manasika ikshanam syat. And if any other form of Ishvara you see, because you have been worshipping Lord Krishna, and he appears before you as Krishna, and talks to you and goes away, and with his flute on, and now that is manasika ikshanam syat. That is purely subjective for you. It has a reality perhaps, and then that is only by Ishvara's grace you got to see. Ishvara came and went. Now you cannot say Ishvara went away. Who goes away is your uncle, not Ishvara. Who remains is Ishvara. And therefore the one who comes and goes away is not Ishvara. And he is only, Ishvara can assume another form to please you. And he assumes a form and then gives you that pleasure of seeing him. You got some boon from him, perhaps he talked to you, and then you asked for something, then he gave you some chocolates and you walked away. So that is your phalam for your tapas, is what we see in Mahabharata, you know. The fellows all ask this kind of tapas they do, then ask for this and that all the time. Boon. Getting the boon and getting the curse. Getting the boon, getting a curse. And getting the boon, getting the curse. And then finally one fellow asked, I should not get cursed by anybody. You one fellow asked this. That's Hiranyakashipu. That's what he asked. He said, nobody should be able to curse me. That's why he became invincible. Nobody should be able to curse me. No Brahmana, no Tapasvi, no Deva, nobody should be able to curse me. And then he asked for a boon, And Brahmaji said, okay, Tatastu Chultuputta. And then afterwards there was a problem. Then again Lord Vishnu again has to come. So all these other gods create problems for him. And then afterwards he comes and then he just, that's what I say. So this is, then he had to find out a method. And he says, I should not die during the day, I should not die during the night. Oh my God. So then I should not die at the hands of a Devata, Gandharva, Yaksha, Manushya, or a human being, or an animal. Problem. These are, people get, and then he says, I should not die inside my house, I should not die outside my house. Finish. I should not die in the air, I should not die on the land, on the earth. How to get this done? Therefore, do you know what Lord Vishnu does? And he began troubling all the devatas. He replaced all of them. He said, Indra, you go away, I will take care of it. And Vayu, etc., all the devatas were given. And you know what he did? He asked the asuras to receive all the oblations of rituals and made the devatas perform the ritual. You do a ritual now, swaha for him. And this all the Agni, all the fellows, they had to perform rituals. And the asuras were receiving all the oblations. That fellow was a terror. And 3 worlds. And so finally, and Lord Vishnu was implored. And he said, okay, don't worry, I will come. So he comes. Then how he comes? So he cannot be a human being. He cannot be a devata. He cannot be an animal. Therefore he is half human, half animal. And he can't use weapons. That also is one more boon. No weapons should destroy him. Fire, weapon, etc. Then he had to use his own hand. And he should not be inside or outside. Therefore, just in the middle, on this threshold. It is neither inside the house nor outside the house. Any class you put, there is always a loophole. And therefore, you see, there is a loophole in everything. And then he said, so either on the land or anything, put him on his own lap. Neither day or night, therefore Sandhya. Sandhya. As the sun sets, it's neither day nor night. Sandhya. Perfect time. So perfect time, perfect place, perfect means, perfect person, and is gone. Hiranyakashipu is gone. Asura. But I say, this boon seeking and then the curse, the boon and curse we see. And this fellow wanted to avoid curse also. Anyway, this is what we call, so this manasa ikshanam syat, it is you see alone, it is not for the public perception, there is an appearance of Ishvara, is only in the prayer, for the prayerful devotee and for his tapas. We see in the books that he is appearing in that form and going away. That's not really Ishvara, that is purely a result of your prayer. It is as a result of prayer alone. It is a punya vasad in a particular form. But who is Ishvara? The one who is seeing and what is seen, that both are Ishvara. Therefore, the one who stays is Ishvara. The one who comes and goes is not Ishvara. And even that which is subject to change also is Ishvara. With reference to the subject and object, there cannot be a division. Then there is Parameshvara. And therefore, Ishvara Darshanam is purely by seeing what is, and for which, naturally, now the karma, therefore the person wants that moksha means you want Ishvara only. When you seek moksha, you are seeking Brahman. When you are seeking Brahman, you are seeking moksha. That is why moksha is converted into Brahma Jignasa, the desire to know Brahman. Fellow, he started, I want moksha, freedom and all that, then he ends up in Brahma Jignasa. And then once the Brahma Jignasa, the desire to know Brahman is there, then Brahman is everything. Naturally, your karma is meant for what? Ishvaraya arpitam. Ishvara praptaye arpitam karma. And the entire karma becomes yoga for you. Why? Because it is a prayer for my antakarana shuddhi, so that I can get moksha. It is not to please Bhagavan you do anything. And karma itself produces the result. Prayer also produces the result. The prayer itself is a result inherent. And therefore, so that is all law. Bhagavan, in the form of law, gives you the result. But then what do you want is Ishvara. Ishvaraya arpitam karma. And therefore, na ichaya kritam. A karma that is done, the same Vaidikam karma that you do, the same Agnihotra rituals that you are performing, they are not performed for the sake of heaven, etc. That is called the Icha. Desire for a small result. Ragadvesha they are not dictating terms. Even if they are dictating Ragadvesha's ends, then even then you are taking the karma phala as prasad. Therefore it becomes yoga. That's why everybody is included. This is one thing, In the karma yoga, they say generally, this is how they say. This is informed people say. I'm not talking about modern karma yoga, as we have talked enough and that's enough. And now I'm talking about the traditional karma yoga. This traditional karma yoga has got its own problem. Like they will say, you perform phala asaktim vina karma kuru ishwararpana buddhya. This is another muddai. Now this is a karma kuru, do karma, and only duties you have to do. So duties you have to do, and nothing else is you have to do. Only duty is karma kuru. And that is meant for gaining what we call antakarana shuddhi. And that will please Bhagavan. Means it is an act of worship anyway. So that will be pleasing Bhagavan is an act of worship which will have a certain type of punya. And so this you will get. You do this kind of karma. And you perform your daily duties, whatever duties are. Now tell me, suppose a person, and this what will it do? What will this kind of karma do? It will knock off it will give you antakarana shuddhi. What do you mean by antakarana shuddhi? What do you mean by that? It will not neutralize your papa, they will say. Neutralize your papa. Durita kshayartham. For the neutralizing papa. Now neutralizing papa, all right. What about my ragadveshas? What about my ragadveshas? They don't talk about them. They don't know anything about them. And only when it comes, particular verse when it comes, then they will talk about it. Then afterwards that is forgotten. And there is no connection. These ragadveshas are completely given up. Then even suppose they say, ragadvesha, only just don't do by your ragadvesha, do only karma that is to be done, duty. Where will you draw the line? Here is a man who is doing business. And he has, look at this, is a very important thing. He is doing business. Now, what is his duty? Please tell me. Where does the duty end? And where does his ambition begin? Where does the duty end? He is doing business. So a fellow who is running a small newspaper shop, he is also doing duty. Another person is producing the newspaper, and he is also doing duty. Now, what is the duty? Please tell me. Where is the scope for ambition? And people have ambition, and also they have moksha. Also, we find they both of them exist. You have to talk to people who are real. You are not you don't what you call treat everything as a nail just because you got a hammer. And you have to talk to you have to see the people who they are. I find people who have got ambition. They have ambition. And there is nothing wrong to have ambition. And they have ambition. And at the same time they have got moksha. Where will you call this duty? I mean, how far the duty goes? And these ambitions, you cannot say they are wrong. You should not have ambitions. You should just say Sharira Dharanartham. Sharira Dharanartham. Only just for the maintenance of the physical body you should do this. There may be such a person available. Sharira Dharanartham. There may be one person available, maybe a sadhu, and he Sharira Dharanartham for him, and he goes on Bhiksha, and he lives on Bhiksha Sharira Dharanartham. Sharira Dharanartham means to keep the body going. And there again the problem. Keep the body going means what all things? Who used to decide again? Keep the body going in 2 centuries ago is entirely different. When Gita was written, keep the body going is entirely different. Now keep the body going is entirely different. There they didn't require soap, toothbrush and toothpaste, etc. Now here, so this is entirely different thing. And therefore Sharira Dharanartham means what? Who is to decide the Sharira Dharanartham? And so the Sharira Dharanartham, you perform karma, etc. This is all, it's too much. But here is a person who has ambitions and who has commitments and he has to fulfill them and he has his own ambitions personal. At the same time, he has got Ichha for moksha. Is there a way for him? No. You give up all these things. If you want moksha, you give up all these things. I say, then that person, that person is out. He has no chance. But and this desire for moksha, he cannot give up either. That also he has got. A desire for moksha, jignasa he has got. And therefore, how are you going to accommodate him? The only way is karma yoga in terms of your attitude to the results of action. Nowhere in any book you will see this, I'm sorry. And then you are including everyone. And it is something in our culture. It is not something invented by Swami Dayananda. It's in our culture. So we take everything as prasad. A child is prasad. A house is prasad. Is dedicated to Bhagavan and then taken. And this is prasada buddhi. Therefore, when the results are taken away, ambitions I have, I try to fulfill them. Whatever the results come, I am ready to take as prasada. Means, where is the problem? Which raga binds me, which dvesha binds me? And therefore, that management of raga dvesha is antakarana shuddhi. And with reference to means also, I follow the right means. Then, why should you stop your ambition? Greed doesn't have, when does the ambition end? Greed begins. Who is to decide this? An ambition, suppose he has got a big corporation and he wants to buy another corporation. Do you say that is greed? And one fellow has got one begging bowl and he wants the other fellow's begging bowl also. 2 bowls he wants. Is it greed? He can have 3 bowls, begging bowls. But legitimately get those, beg for one more bowl. Because he needs it. Okay. But in this, if you steal the other fellow's bowl, then that is greed. So greed is nothing but it's not quantifiable. Greed is not quantifiable. Ambition is much less quantifiable. But therefore, quantifiable ambition is not there at all. And Bhagavan's ambition is to create the whole Jagat. And it is not quantifiable. And therefore, so what is greed? When in order to fulfill your small, big desire, everybody's desire is small only. One corporation if he has got, we want only one more corporation, not 25. So what is wrong in that? And therefore what I say, that desire in order to fulfill your ambition, if you cut corners, if you compromise the means, and then the greed begins. If you take advantage of people, then greed begins. So at the cost of others' felicity, others' happiness, if you want to fulfill your ambition, there is a certain short-sightedness. There we can say the greed blind. Like Dhritarashtra's blindness, inner blindness. That is called greed. Understand now? The greed definition is not quantifiable. There is no quantifiable the ambition or quantifiable greed. Purely when it may be a small thing, as I told you, begging bowl. There is a greed. Because other fellows begging bowl will steal. That's greed that drives him to do that. And therefore, so this is to accommodate the people who have ambition and who have also desired for moksha. They have to be addressed. You cannot dismiss them because such people exist in the world. And how do you address? Take the karma phala as prasada. Why should I bother about ragadvesha? And as long as I fulfill my ragadvesha with dharma, and dharma I look upon as Ishvara, I have no problem whatsoever. Arjuna is asked to fight the kingdom for a kingdom, for the sake of dharma. And what is going to get kingdom? Is it greed? It is not greed. And therefore, so it's not quantifiable at all. There may be a kingdom at stake, or it may be a begging bowl. It's all the same. And therefore, so we accommodate the people who have ragadveshas at the same time, ambitions, etc. They have ragadveshas, means there is no end. Ambitions are included in ragadvesha. And at the same time they can have moksha. And they are the people we are talking, karma yogis. That's why Bhagavan says, you live a life of karma yoga, fulfill all your ambitions. And there you have certain duties to do. While fulfilling them, you follow the dharma and the dharma. Otherwise, then the Gita won't address it. And therefore, so with reference to the results of action and with reference to the choice of the means of action, I have Ishvara. Attitude means Ishvara. That we have to bring in there. Therefore, Ishvararpitam, Ishvaraya arpitam karma, chitta shodhakam. Chitta shodhakam bhavati, chittasya suddhikari bhavati. It becomes one that cleanses the chitta, the mind. Cleansing the mind is to neutralize the ragadvesha. Chitta shodhakam. Then what happens? Mukti sadhakam. It becomes mukti sadhakam. Muktehe sadhakam bhavati. So it becomes the sadhaka. It becomes a means for moksha. What kind of means? Indirect means. Not direct means, because direct means is knowing. Pramana. Pravritti. The pursuit of pramana, etc. What you are doing, that is what they call direct means. Indirect means is preparing yourself for it. And that is what this moksha sadhakam. Therefore, under the karma yoga, everything will come. Your daily puja is karma. It is karma yoga. They say it is bhakti. The bhakti yoga. It is not bhakti yoga, it is karma yoga. Bhaktya karma yoga. Bhaktya alone. Bhakti is an element which is there for everybody. And therefore, so that is karma. Because suppose, let us say, there is a jnana yogi, there is karma yogi, there is bhakti yogi. These three fellows are there. So jnana yogi. So jnana yogi tatvamasi is jnana yogi. Then karma yogi. The karma yogi is the extrovert fellow, is a karma yogi. And bhakti yogi. Now tell me, then this bhakti yogi, what will he do? What is his bhakti yoga? Tell me. Bhakti say mukti mil jayega. Then what is that bhakti? Tell me. What does he do? Puja karta hai. Puja, that is karma. Who told you that is not karma? That is karma. Or he performs elaborate ritual, karma. And daily he is singing Nandalala, karma. Daily Nandalala means karma. Nandalala Kirtan, karma. Or Paddhati Kirtana, karma. There is also karma, Vachikam karma. He sings the glories of Ishvara. Or he repeats the names of the Lord, like Vishnu, Sahasranama Parayanam. That is karma, Vachikam karma. No, he doesn't do all this karma, he does bhakti. How? He does bhakti how? He does meditation on the Lord. That is also manasam karma. Moonu karma danta. All the three are karma. Now what is bhakti yoga? Tell me now. There is no such thing as bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is karma yoga. What about hatha yoga? It is also under karma yoga. Hatha yoga, if you do it for your health, it is not karma yoga. If you do it for moksha, it is karma yoga. Oh, now you are telling hatha yoga gives moksha. Yeah, hatha yoga gives moksha. What? To your joint stiffness, etc. To moksha from joint stiffness. Understand? And therefore, so hatha yoga can produce what it can produce. And it may be helpful to you. Why should you not? Even your professional pursuit can be for moksha. Because you require an image. That image is important. A healthy ego is important. Already it is a kind of a emaciated ego, anemic ego. Anemic ego. And you want to transcend that. And it goes on, and I want to be big, I want to be big, I want to be big, I want to be big. No, I want to transcend you. I want to be big, I want to be big, and I want to be big. And whenever you forget that, it is not heard. The moment you remember, I want to be big, I want to be big, I want to be big, it is anemic ego. You go on complaining, this is ego. And you have to fatten this ego a little bit. Nourish the ego. And give something for this ego so that it can feel good about itself. Then, enough, we can go further. When the ego is anemic, the body becomes big. You know, this is anemic. So this anemic ego, you must address this anemic ego. Therefore, you require. So you require to accomplish something. You feel good about yourself. And so, even that becomes yoga. Your daily life is yoga. Your business is yoga. Everything is yoga. Because you are a yogi. Understand? Where to draw a line, tell me. There is no line. The sky is the limit. You can be in charge of the whole jagat and still be a yogi. And you may be in charge of a small little hut which is visited by all the elements. Sun walks in, rain walks in, everybody, Varuna, Agni, everyone. And so, except Agni, anytime you will walk in. So this is this hut, and you are the owner of that. And still you can be a yogi. Or you can be a bogi there also. And therefore, you can be a yogi owning the whole jagat, or you can be a yogi owning a small hut. And therefore, it's purely the yogi, your attitude makes everything the difference. And so, chitta chodakam bhavati, mukti sadakam, muktehe sadakam bhavati, it becomes a means for moksha in that means. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.